All right, here we are. Good morning, everyone. It's the 22nd day of May in 2018. Can you imagine we got this far, huh? I'm Jan Erickson. I host the blog Stepping Aside over at imsteppingaside.com. It's a witch blog. Sometimes I get political and rant a bit. But I do rune castings and tarot readings, and I talk about different witchy things, correspondences and different kinds of magic. And I'm an empath, so I talk about that too. I just published my book number 6 called When Vampires Attack. And I did another one called Empath, which basically talks about what I think being an empath is and all of that. Let's see, I think I got that tilted too far forward. But this one that I did deals with vampiric intention, and I kind of define it down into psychological categories, psychiatric terms, from passive aggressive and sociopathic, narcissistic, that kind of thing. But I talk about in it how it feels when that sort of energy comes into me or lurks around me, and what I do to deal with it. I talked about it in Empath, but I thought it really kind of deserved its own discussion. Vampiric energy these days is really sticky. A lot of people are sort of casting their intention, their focus on other people, and psychiatry would call that ruminating thoughts and all of that. But the point is that when you extend your energy outward to other people, they feel it. And, so you got to be careful, just like the way you got to be careful how you talk to people. You got to be careful how you talk to them energetically as well. So anyway, we're out there. My husband's out there with the bees right now. He's going to be spraying some more attractant on the nukes we have put around. The nukes are the smaller hives you can use to start a colony, or you can use them as a swarm hive. And so you can catch swarms with them, hopefully. And so you spray this attractant on it, and then the scout bee will go out when the hive's ready to swarm and look for a new location. And then out they go. Out, the queen will take off with half the hive. And I know Jerry was reading something the other day. Some beekeeper was saying how her hive swarmed, and they're just being ornery because they swarm. No, swarms are actually the sign of a healthy hive. So that's a good thing. And if you're a beekeeper, you just, we have enough property that when ours swarm, they don't go anywhere. We've got this bucket thing we got from Brushy Mountain Bee Supply. And it's cool because it's got a lid and it's got a string on it and everything. You stick it on a pole because you never know. You got to have the ability to add a pole in a pinch if they swarm way up high in a tree. But typically they don't go up very high. They just go right there. In fact, usually close to the hive. At least that's been our experience. They don't really go anywhere. Although they can, if you live in the city, they might travel a bit. So you might have to run down the street looking for where your hive went. But I mean, you still have a hive left, but now if you catch it, now you're going to have 2. And it's another one you didn't actually have to pay for to get. So because we just adopt the policy, we're just going to buy a package a year, whether we need to or not, because most of the time our bees don't survive the winter, and we don't treat them with poisons and things like that. So our attitude is, well, we'll just buy a package of bees once a year, and if it adds to more than that we already have, great. If it has to start over, that's fine too. We have a lot of garden space, and we've got a lot of apple trees and whatnot. We need to have the bees, and so we're happy to do that until this whole issue with the bees is resolved and we don't have to do that anymore. But anyway, I think I have shuffled this enough. We'll count 13. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. Okay, so where's my book? This is an interesting card. this is the, well, let me get it to where it doesn't glare on everybody. This is the Nine of Wands. Wands is an interesting, personally, I think it should say, you know, Nine of Staffs or something, but it's wands. And there are always these staffs. And you can see they're crude. They've got things growing out of them. 9 is the number for completion. Here we've got a guy that's clearly been in battle. He's got, you know, here you can see, you know, here he's got, you know, battle dressings and whatnot over his clothing, and he's got a head wound. Obviously, he's looking around suspiciously at everything. He's guarding, you know, guarding what he's got. This may be his gain. It could represent, you know, the strength of people behind you. You know, like, okay, the battle is done. This is what we've got. But let's see here. Wands is about our will. And basically what the Nine of Wands is, I always think of wands as our own personal inner power and our integrity, not just our will, because our will can be out of balance. You know, we can, you know, and you know, if you've ever heard the expression, that's a willful child. Well, what that means is that, you know, that little kid is exerting its will all over the place and not listening to mom and dad. So that's being willful. Now, it can also be that you're standing up, you're speaking truth to power, you're standing up for what's right. You're saying, well, no, this is what I want. You know, I had a situation where I was at one of those big box stores. It was several years back. And I wanted a new light over my desk at our shop. And so we go there, and this guy who I guess was an electrician in a former life decided that I needed these 2 little utility light things. Well, they were disgusting. I don't want that. You know, I wanted something nice. I wanted something decorative. You know, it went over my desk. I wanted to be able, I didn't want that weird lighting, you know, shop lighting. If I had that, heck, I could go, I had tons of that at the shop. I could go pick up anything, have my husband put it up, and there it is. That wasn't what I was looking for. But that's what I went back to the shop with, was 2 of these dumb things, you know, because eventually I got tired of nobody listening to me, and I just bought them like an idiot. And I go back, and I said to my husband, I says, yeah, you know, that's not going up there, right? He's like, yeah, I know. And he's, I'll use them somewhere else. I'm like, yeah, fine. You know, so I went there and did all that shopping, and I came back with crap. So, I mean, the product itself wasn't crap, but it wasn't what I mean, come on, I have to be able to see, you know, but anyway, another, sorry for that. Anyway, you're talking about, you know, strength through adversity. You're talking about the, but see, at the same time, see, he's still, you know, the battle's over with, but he's still watching. I don't know. It's hard to turn it off, isn't it? It's just hard to turn that will off, you know, but when you've been in the midst of it, it's hard to, it may, you know, it may look like it's over, but maybe it's not, you know. How many times do we have issues with friends or family or whatever, and we think it's over, but then, and you go along like it is, and then all of a sudden, you know, that other person is just, the stuff is there again. It's up again. You're dealing with it again, and it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? I thought we were doing fine. but yeah, so the end of something, you know, a struggle maybe. Get the bag of runes. Bag o' runes. So maybe we've just come through something today, and we're just kind of standing there going, okay, I think it's over. But, you know, you're tired, and you don't want to deal with anymore. And that's what this guy is like, okay, we've done it, and it's over, and I'm going to stand here, though, because I'm not quite sure. But And then you got the Ten of Swords here. I'm doing that exploring tarot thing. Actually, it's exploring my tarot, all the tarot decks I have. And so the one that's going to come up on the blog is with the Universal Weight Tarot. And so here it's the Ten of Swords. So you can see, you know, darkest before the dawn. There they are, totally pierced. It's like nothing more can happen to me now. And you've got the dawn showing there in the distance, and the sun's coming up on this scene of this poor person with 10 swords stuck in their back. They're dead as a doornail, but really that's not what it means. But yeah, I mean, you look at that, you know, adjacent to this, and you can see, you know, sometimes we're doing stuff to ourselves here. But anyway, when we think of battles, it can be external. It can be a battle without, but it's typically the battle within that we're dealing with. You know, everything that we are, everything that we see, we create. And so if you've got 1 billion people living on a planet, I don't know how many billions we have, but you've got all those little billions of creations going on. They all overlap. We're all part of this joint endeavor. We're all putting our own stamp on it. We're all, you know, doing our own part. You know, it's like the body has all these cells. They all work together. Sometimes they don't, and then we get sick. But then we got to figure out, okay, what herb do we need to have? What tea do I need to drink to bring me back? What did I do? Because it's all on us. You know, what we see in life, it's all on us. And so consequently, if we're experiencing something like this, maybe it's our own perceptions, you know, that have caused that. We can always see something a different way, even something that's upsetting. You know, I think for me, the simplest way to see things that are happening to me that I don't like, that other people are doing, you know, you have to just say to yourself, or this is what I say to myself, well, you know, we make this choice before we come in here, service to self, service to others. What are we going to be? What focus are we going to have? You know, and, you know, you can look at it as, well, that person has got an interesting focus. You know, they're evidently having to play out what this feels like to be an asshole to somebody, you know. So, and then we get the experience of having that person play out that drama, and so we can see how that feels, you know, make a decision about it. I mean, it can all be very clinical, really, you know, if you don't insert judgment into the mix. But of course we do. And so then we get into the problems. And then we need tarot cards and runes to bring us back to where we, you know, can see things a little bit better. So, okay, we're going to choose a rune. Well, the rune chooses me. I don't choose a rune. I never look at them. Especially if I'm doing a bind rune, I say, okay, this is my intention. And then I start pulling out runes, you know, and I'll do either 3 or 4 or 5, depending on what I'm getting. If I think, well, there might be something else. And so then I might take another one, and then I create the bind rune from there. But I let the runes decide what that is, because I think, you know, those energies know more than I do. Oh, well, Perthrow. This is fun rune. This is one that a lot of people do directionality. If it's turned this way, you've got energy coming upwards. It's like a womb. If it's turned to the, I guess that would be to your right. Well, if it's open to the right, you know, it's birth. If it's open to the left, it's death. I just cast it the way it's, you know, supposed to go. And it's the rune of the unknown. It's the well of word. It's the cup from which dice are tossed, or it's the bag from which runes are pulled, you know. So, but it represents the well of word, or fate, the unknown. So let's think about how, where's my little rune grimoire? Because let's think about how this is going to relate to the battle being over. And you know, maybe it's saying that, yeah, okay, we don't know what the future holds. We can try to control that as much as possible with our will, but ideally, like I say, you've got billions of other wills on this planet that have their own ideas of what's going on. So we don't always know what we're going to come up against. But Perthrow is is a cool. It's actually the 14th rune of the Elder Futhark. So as that would be, 1 and 4 is 5, so 5 is change. It's also practical matters. So change on the physical sense, the mystery of fate. But the Norns, they're the ones that gave the runes to Odin, and as a means of enlightenment to like get his head in order, because evidently it wasn't. He lost an eye, to sacrificed an eye, hung upside down for, from Yggdrasil, from the tree, the world tree. But basically, this is a water element rune. So right there, it's that change is going to be involved. It's also emotion. It's the childbirth rune. It means chance. It also means how we find our joy. But the most important thing, and if you've ever listened to Eckhart Tolle, there was this video that we saw of him, and he's up on the stage, and I don't think he said anything yet. He just came out and sat at one of his deals. He just sat there looking at everybody for the longest time. And I think he started to giggle in his little Eckhart Tolle way. That guy, I mean, he's just so cool. Literally, I mean, he's just calm. But basically, he talks about living in the present moment and not allowing the past or the future to govern your mood at the time or your choices or whatever. That to stay in control, you have to stay present all the time. And he's right. And this is what, when we're worried about what's coming down the pike, which, I mean, let's face it, there's times we have to be concerned about that. But we don't always know. And I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable knowing what's going to happen. I got to know what's going to happen. So I'll get out my pendulums or, my tarot cards, or I got to know something. I've never really been comfortable with the unknown, although I guess I am comfortable with, because I'm a witch. So of course I'm uncomfortable with the unknown, but it's the immediacy of, okay, what am I going to do now? Or what's going to happen to me now? I like to know as much as possible. So there's a saying, you can invite the universe in, you can let your higher self in to know more, or you're just going to have to understand that life is about experience and you can't always know what's around the corner. And that's part of the fun of it. And if you don't live in fear and doubt all of the time, there was a book a long time ago written by Gary Zukav, and I think it was by Gary Zukav, where he talks about living in love and unity or fear and doubt. I think it was Gary Zukav. If it wasn't, I'm sorry to the author. It's long time ago that I read this, probably in the 80s or something. I don't know when it was. But it's true. We can either live in the security that we're here to experience whatever, and whatever it is, even if it brings our death, is okay. That's just part of what we were setting out to do here. So, and if we die, then it's our time. So we can have that comfort level to say, well, we're going to experience whatever we want to do, and it's fine. Whatever it is, even the unpleasant stuff, it's fine. We don't have to get ourselves all racked up about it. What this is telling us is we have resources behind us. Even if times are dicey, which clearly this guy's been through some dicey times, we still have resources behind us, even if it's just the resources of our higher self. There's things there for us. So it's about simple cause and effect, Perthrow, and synchronicity as well. So in a sense, it points out correct action, but then you'd have to, whichever way, or, it's like urus, if the horns are pointing down, it's manifesting. If they're pointing up, it's doing so, it depends. You can get really, really involved when you're interpreting runes. I just like to look at the whole meaning of it, the positive and the negative, and, it includes the directionality. I just don't like to define it down to one thing or another, because you just, you never know what's going to happen. because you're overlapping your story here with everyone else's. So you just never really know for sure. So today, let's be comfortable in the unknown. Let's not worry too much about what might be coming, and understand that we have resources that at our disposal that we're not looking at. Like, remember, we got things. There's things you can do. So that might be the thing to remember today. So, well, it's a great day on the high desert. Things are growing really well out there. I have to go water. And so I hope everybody has there. Blessed be.